Mosin Nagant 9130 Muzzle Brake Part 2. In Part 1 we showed the preparation for threading the barrel. In Part 2 we thread the barrel. The tools we use can be found at cncwarrior.com on the Mosin Nagant page. Look in the left hand column. The AK-74 style brake is a special quote with a metric 15x1 threads. Okay, we insert the thread alignment tool or die starter into the die far enough to expose the threads that you're going to cut with. Have the bottom of the thread starter at least halfway up inside the die. Now we chose a rifle here that with a problem on it, and that it's a common problem that you might run into. The thread starter is machined to 7.62, and this Mosin has been counterbored, and so it's a loose fit. We take a cleaning patch, put it on the thread, and now we have a nice tight fit. That's how we overcome if your barrel's been counterbored. Place some electrical tape 5/8 of an inch from the end of the barrel. Okay, make sure the die starter is tight, the die handle is level, and with steady, firm pressure down, start the threading. Turn slowly to the right with at least half a turn before repositioning your hands. Now just repeat the process. Now pay special attention to the die starter in the end of the barrel. If you can, unscrew the die starter up as you put more threads on the barrel. We will stop here and show you what we mean. Always keep a gap between the die starter and the barrel. If it bottoms out, the threads will strip. Okay, we continue the process. We put the die back on the thread starter and continue threading the barrel. Now after you get about 5 threads or so on the barrel, you will not need the die starter anymore. You can remove the die and remove the die starter, and then carefully rethread the die back on the barrel. You need to take your time in this process and make sure that it fits exactly on the already existing threads that you cut. Now we just continue threading the barrel, and we need to thread all the way down to the edge of the black tape. The threads that are cutting are actually up inside the die a little bit, so the end of the die will pass your black tape. But just check it often. If you can't see it, you can always back off the die enough to see where the threads are on the barrel, whether or not they're up to the tape yet. Here we just show you how we can unscrew the die, exposing where you have actually cut threads on the barrel. And you can check it. We need about 2 more turns. So we just tighten it back down to where the threads were cutting, and we put a couple more turns on there. Okay, now we're at this point. You can take the die off, and we're going to test the fit. Now we purposely leave our die that's cutting a little bit on the large side because we want to ensure that we have a nice tight fit. So we will test fit the brake onto the threads now. The brake starts to thread a little bit, but it's actually quite tight. And after turning it on 2 or 3 turns, it's pretty tight. So we need to thread it a little bit with an adjustment of the die. There's a set screw on the die, and here we just turn this maybe 1/8 of a turn. You just want to turn it a little bit at a time. It doesn't take much to dramatically reduce the size of the threads. So here we add some more oil. We start the threading process again. This time we're just shaving a little bit off of our already existing threads. This is what they call chasing the threads. It's really just cleaning them up. Now as you get down to the bottom, there will be a significantly more pressure needed when you get to the end of your already cut threads. And you'll be able to tell quite easily. Okay, we chased our threads, cleaned them up. Now we test again the fit of our muzzle brake. This time it screws on quite nicely. The threads are nice and tight. We can turn it on there by hand. Now to test where it lines up on the rifle, with your hand, tighten it up as tight as you can, but only with your hand. Remove the tape and check to see where the top of the brake aligns up with the top of the barrel of the gun. In this case, as we look down, we need about a half a turn more. So we will remove the brake and reinstall our die. Again, this is kind of like chasing the threads again, only this time the threads are cut to the right size. We take it down to where it is and we add about 1/2 more of a turn. We remove the die again, screw on the muzzle brake, this time with the help of a screwdriver on this style brake anyway. We take it all the way down and we tighten it up to see where it lines up with the top of the barrel. And there we have it. The brake is on there solid, nice and tight, lines up perfectly with the top of the barrel and without any tightening nut or set screw. Now all we have to do is do cleanup and refinish the barrel. End part 2. Now watch part 3, finishing and installing the muzzle brake.